August 1885, Wyoming Territory. Elijah Cross stood in the middle of Sweetwater Creek, water rising to his knees, cold enough to numb bone. The current pulled at his boots, tried to knock him sideways, but he'd stood in worse, felt worse, been colder on the inside than any creek could manage. His saddlebag held $3.17. Everything he owned in the world fit in that leather pouch. The horse beneath him was old, ribs showing through dull coat, but the animal was loyal. That counted for something. The Colt revolver at his hip carried 6 bullets. The last 6 he'd buy for a while, 35 years old, and this is what it came to. A man, alone in a creek, with nothing but pocket change and a gun he prayed he'd never have to use again. 8 years. 8 years since Nathan died in his arms on a bank floor in Silver Creek, Colorado. 8 years since his little brother looked up at him with blood on his lips and said, "Eli, I'm sorry." Like it was Nathan's fault, like Nathan had done something wrong by trusting his big brother to protect him. 30 seconds, that's all it took. Eli arrived 30 seconds after the shooting started. 30 seconds between life and death. Between having a brother and burying one. He quit the marshal service that night, turned in his badge, walked away from everything, spent 8 years drifting from ranch to ranch, town to town, never staying long enough for anyone to ask his name twice, never staying long enough to make a promise he might break. The sun beat down hard. July heat that made a man's shirt stick to his back and his thoughts stick to places they shouldn't go. Eli touched the scar on his left wrist, shaped like a horseshoe. Got it the day Nathan died, when he'd grabbed the bank door so hard the metal handle branded him. The scar never faded. He figured it never would. He was just another drifter looking for work. That's what he told himself every morning. Just passing through, just another temporary hand, just another ghost nobody would remember. Then he heard the voice. "Mister, please, my mama's dying and they're taking me away." Eli's horse startled. He grabbed the reins, steadied the animal, looked up. A girl stood in the creek 20 feet downstream, 9 years old, maybe younger, barefoot, dress torn at the hem, hair dark and tangled falling past thin shoulders. She stood in water up to her shins, arms wrapped around herself, shaking. Not from cold, from something worse than cold. A dog stood on the bank behind her, cattle dog, brown and white, tail between its legs. The dog was barking, but the sound was wrong, desperate, the kind of bark that meant everything was falling apart, and the dog knew it. The girl's hands were shaking. Eli could see it from where he sat, see the tremor in her fingers, the way she couldn't hold them still. She looked up at him with eyes too big for her face, brown and pleading, filled with something no child should have to carry. "Please, mister," she said again, voice cracking. "Please just listen." Every instinct in Eli's body said, "Ride on, pull the reins, cross this creek, disappear into the valley beyond." That's what he'd done for 8 years, town after town, problem after problem, never his concern, never his fight. But the girl didn't move, just stood there in the water, hands shaking, dog barking, eyes locked on his, like he was the last hope in a world that had run out of hope. "I'm listening," Eli heard himself say, hated himself for it. The girl's shoulders dropped slightly, relief so raw it hurt to witness. "My name's Emma," she said. "Emma Brennan. My mama's got a ranch up the hill. It ain't big, but it's ours. My papa built it before he died. I'm sorry about your papa. He died 2 years back." Emma's voice was steady, but her chin trembled. "Got sick from the water. Mama says the mine poisoned it, but nobody believes her. And now Judge Wade says she can't keep me. Says a woman alone ain't fit to raise a girl. He's coming Monday with papers from the court." Eli's jaw tightened. Monday. 3 days from now. "Girl, I'm just a drifter," he said. "I can't help with judges and papers." "You got hands, don't you?" Emma's voice turned fierce, small but fierce. "Mama needs help fixing things. The fence is down. The barn's leaking. The pasture's full of weeds. Judge Wade told the whole town she can't manage. And now everybody believes him Because the place looks like nobody cares." She took a step forward in the water. The dog whined from the bank. "But Mama cares," Emma said. "She works so hard her hands bleed. She just can't do it all alone. And Monday's coming and they're taking me away unless somebody helps." Eli looked at this child standing in cold creek water, barefoot, trembling, fighting for her mother with nothing but words and stubborn courage. A man could ride past a lot of things, could ignore most cries for help, could tell himself it wasn't his problem and mean it. But a child standing in a river begging for her mama, that stopped you, whether you wanted it to or not. "Where's this ranch?" Eli asked. Emma's face broke into relief so complete, so total, it cracked something inside Eli's chest, something he'd kept sealed for 8 years. "Up the hill," she said. 10 minutes. I'll show you." "I ain't promising nothing," Eli said. "I'll look, that's all." "That's enough." Emma finally moved from the water. She splashed to the bank, scooped up the dog, started up a narrow trail without looking back. Certain, absolutely certain that Eli would follow. Eli sat his horse in the middle of Sweetwater Creek. Water swirled around the animal's legs. Sun hammered down on his shoulders. $3.17 in his pocket. 6 bullets in his gun. And a promise he'd already broken once before. He followed the girl. The ranch sat on a gentle slope overlooking the valley. Quarter-mile up from the creek, tucked against a line of cottonwood trees that provided some shade in the brutal summer heat. Eli saw the problems before he reached the gate. Fence posts leaning at angles that defied physics. Some snapped clean through, lying in the dirt. Wire sagging so low a child could step over it. The barn door hung by one hinge, swaying slightly in the breeze. Weeds choked what should have been a vegetable garden. 2 horses stood in a pasture that desperately needed clearing, their coats dull, ribs showing. But the cabin itself told a different story. The windows were clean. Curtains hung inside, faded but neat. Flowers grew in a tin can on the porch railing. Somebody had swept the porch that morning. Swept it clean despite everything falling apart around them. Someone was fighting hard to keep this place alive. The front door opened before Emma reached the steps. A woman stepped out onto the porch. 32, maybe 33 years old. Red-brown hair pulled back tight, escaping in strands that framed a face tanned by sun and carved by worry. She wore a faded blue dress, patched at the elbows, an apron stained with work. Her hands were rough, scarred. The hands of someone who'd been doing men's work for too long with no help. She didn't carry a gun, didn't carry anything, just stood there on the porch looking at her daughter and the stranger her daughter had brought home. Her eyes were exhausted, deep circles underneath, the eyes of someone who hadn't slept properly in months, maybe years. "Emma Catherine Brennan." The woman's voice was steady but strained. "What did you do?" "Mama, he can help." "I told you not to go begging strangers." "I wasn't begging, I was asking." Papa said there's a difference. The woman's eyes moved to Eli. Brown eyes, same as Emma's, but filled with something that made Eli's chest tighten. Calculation, weariness, exhaustion so deep it had become part of who she was. And underneath it all, buried deep but still burning, the stubborn fire of someone who'd been fighting alone too long to trust easily. Eli touched his hat. "Ma'am, your girl flagged me at the creek. Says you could use a hand around the place." The woman's jaw set. "My girl talks too much." "Mama." "Hush, Emma." She didn't take her eyes off Eli. "I appreciate the thought, mister, but I don't know you, and I don't take charity." "Ain't charity," Eli said. "I'm heading north, looking for work through summer. I can fix that fence, rehang your barn door, clear that pasture, few days' work. Then I ride on." "Few days?" The woman's voice was flat. "Judge Wade's coming Monday. That's 3 days. You think 3 days of fence mending is going to convince a court I'm fit to keep my daughter?" Eli met her gaze, held it. "I think 3 days of a clean ranch might help. I think a standing fence and a working barn door might show you got help. Might show you ain't alone. But I am alone." The words came out quiet, broken. I've been alone for 2 years, and 3 days of pretending otherwise won't change Judge Wade's mind. Emma grabbed her mother's hand. Mama, please. The woman looked down at her daughter. Something passed between them. Something Eli couldn't read but could feel. A mother's fear, a child's hope. The weight of 2 years fighting a battle nobody could win alone. The dog, Dusty Emma had called him, trotted to the woman's side and sat, waiting for her verdict. The woman took a long breath. 3 days, she said finally. You sleep in the barn. You eat what we eat, which ain't much. And if I catch you drinking, stealing, or saying one wrong word to my daughter, I will find a gun and I will use it. Am I clear? Crystal, ma'am. It's Kate, Mrs. Brennan if you're being formal. I don't need ma'am. Makes me feel like my mother-in-law. Eli almost smiled. Almost. Emma pumped her fist. I told you, Mama. I told you God would send somebody. God didn't send him, Emma. Kate's voice was tired. You ambushed him in a creek. There's a difference. But as she turned to go inside, Eli caught the slightest softening around her eyes. Relief she wouldn't name. Gratitude she'd never admit. Hope she didn't dare trust. Eli tied his horse to the fence post, the one still standing, and started assessing the work ahead. By afternoon, Eli had stripped to his shirt sleeves and replaced 4 fence posts. The sun hammered down relentless. Sweat ran into his eyes. His hands remembered the rhythm of honest labor, and his mind quieted the way it only did when his body was working hard. Emma appeared with a jar of water. Mama said you'd get thirsty. She was right. Thank you. Emma sat cross-legged in the dirt. Dusty curled beside her. She watched Eli work with unblinking attention. The kind of attention children give when they're studying something important. You ever have a kid? Emma asked. Eli's hands stilled on the fence post. No. You ever want one? I had a brother. Eli drove the post into the ground with more force than necessary. Raised him after our folks died. What happened to him? The post went deeper. Eli's knuckles were white around the post hole digger. He's gone. Emma was quiet for a moment. The kind of quiet that said she understood gone, had her own experience with it. My papa's gone too, she said finally. Mama says gone ain't the same as forgotten. Your mama's smart. She's the smartest person in the whole territory. Emma's voice filled with fierce pride. She knew the water was bad before anybody. Told the doctor, told the sheriff, told the judge. Her voice hardened on the last word. Nobody listened. Papa died anyway. Eli stopped working. Set down the post-hole digger. Looked at this 9-year-old girl sitting in the dirt, hands trembling slightly even now, talking about her father's death like she'd had to tell the story 100 times and nobody ever believed her. How'd your papa die, Emma? Sick. Her voice was matter-of-fact, clinical, the way children sound when they've been forced to grow up too fast. Real sick for months. His hands shook, his stomach hurt all the time. Doc Pierce said it was fever, but Mama didn't believe it. What did your mama believe? The mine. Emma's eyes went hard. The Wade Mining Company dug upstream. After that, the water changed, tasted different, smelled different. Papa drank from our well every day, worked hard, drank plenty. 6 months later, he couldn't hold a hammer. A year later, he was dead. Emma picked at the dirt with one finger. Her hand was shaking worse now. Eli noticed. And nobody looked into it? He asked quietly. Judge Wade said Mama was hysterical. Emma spat the word like it tasted rotten. That's what he called her. Hysterical. She ain't hysterical, she's right. Eli looked toward the cabin. Through the window he could see Kate moving inside, preparing supper. Her movements were efficient, practiced, the motions of a woman who had no time to waste and no one to waste it with. What's Judge Wade want with your ranch? Eli asked. Emma's eyes went dark. He wants Mama to sell. The mining company wants our land. Papa always said no. Mama says no. So Judge Wade says she can't keep me. Says a woman alone ain't a proper mother. A fist tightened in Eli's chest. He'd seen this before, years ago, back when he wore a badge. Powerful men, using law as a weapon, twisting justice into a tool for greed. "When's he coming?" Eli asked. "Monday morning. Came to the porch last week with Deputy Carter. Had papers, legal papers." Emma's chin trembled. "Mama stood there and told him to get off her land. He said he'd be back Monday to take me away. Said it's for my own good." The supper bell rang. Kate stood on the porch wiping her hands on her apron. "Emma, Mr. Cross, wash up." Emma jumped to her feet. Halfway to the cabin she turned back. "Mr. Eli?" "Yeah?" "You ain't going to leave before Monday, right? You said 3 days. That's past Monday." "I said 3 days. I meant it." Emma's smile was so bright it cracked something deeper inside Eli's chest, something he'd kept sealed since Nathan died, something that hurt to feel again. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she ran to the cabin, Dusty at her heels. Eli stood alone in the yard, holding the fence post, his hands clenched around the reins. 3 days. 3 days to fix a fence and make a difference. 3 days before a judge came to tear a family apart. He'd failed Nathan when it mattered most. Maybe he could save this family in 3 days. Maybe. Supper was simple. Salt pork, beans, cornbread. Kate served it without ceremony. Emma said grace, a child's prayer, earnest and quick, and they ate in silence for a few minutes. "This is good, Ma." "Kate." Eli caught himself. "It's food that keeps you standing." Kate didn't look up from her plate. "It's what we got." "Mama's cornbread won first prize at the county fair," Emma announced, before people stopped talking to us. The table went quiet. Kate's fork paused. She set it down carefully, deliberately. "Emma." "It's true, Mama." Mrs. Crawford said Mama's cornbread was the best she ever tasted. Then, after Papa died, and Mama started asking questions, Mrs. Crawford wouldn't even look at us in town. Kate's jaw tightened. A muscle jumped near her ear. "Emma, eat your beans. But Mr. Eli should know. If he's staying 3 days, he should know why people look at us funny." Kate raised her eyes to Eli. In them, he saw a woman deciding, weighing whether to trust, whether to open the door even 1 inch wider to this stranger sitting at her dead husband's table. "My husband died of mercury poisoning." Her voice was flat, controlled. The voice of someone who'd told this story too many times to officials who didn't care. "The Wade Mining Company's operation upstream contaminated our well water. Thomas drank from it every day, worked the ranch hard, stayed hydrated like a good man should. 6 months later, he couldn't hold tools. A year later, he was in the ground." "And you can prove this?" Eli asked quietly. "I know it." Kate's hands tightened around her fork. "Proving it's different. Doc Pierce signed the death certificate as fever of unknown origin. The mining company has Judge Wade in their pocket. Wade sits on the town council, controls the sheriff, controls the land office, controls all of it. Why does he want your land specifically?" Kate's eyes sharpened. "Because Thomas's ranch sits right above the richest vein they haven't tapped yet. They need this land to expand the mine. Thomas wouldn't sell when he was alive. I won't sell now that he's dead, so Wade found another way. Taking your daughter. If I'm declared unfit, the court appoints a guardian. Wade will make sure that guardian is someone he controls, someone who'll sell the land to settle debts." Her voice cracked slightly. "Debts that don't exist." Kate's hands were shaking now. She pressed them flat against the table, trying to stop the tremor. "They killed my husband," she said quietly. "Now they want to take my daughter and my home. And this whole town stands by and watches because Victor Wade pays their wages and buys their silence." Emma reached across the table, put her small hand on her mother's. Kate looked at that hand, at those fingers that trembled just like hers, like Thomas's had trembled in those final months. "We ain't letting them, Mama," Emma said. Kate covered Emma's hand with both of hers, held on tight. "No, baby, we ain't." Eli set down his fork. "Who else got sick from the water?" Kate looked at him. "What?" "If the mine contaminated your well, it contaminated others downstream. Who else got sick?" Kate was quiet for a long moment, her eyes unfocused, thinking back through 2 years of isolation and silence. "The Henderson boy had tremors for a year," she said slowly. "Old man Patterson's cattle started dying. Martha Webb's daughter, she's been sickly since she was born, but nobody connected it to the mine." "You connected it." Nobody wanted to hear it. Kate's voice hardened. "Wade told everyone Thomas died of typhoid. Easier to believe than the truth. The truth means the mine gets shut down. The truth means Wade loses money. The truth means this town loses jobs. Nobody wants the truth, Mr. Cross." "Eli." She paused, studied him. "Why? You'll be gone in 3 days." "Maybe, but I'm here now." Kate stared at him across the table. The lamp between them cast shadows on her face, made her eyes look darker, more guarded. She was trying to read him, trying to figure out what kind of man sits down at a stranger's table and offers to fight their battles. "What do you want from us?" she asked. The question hung in the air. Eli knew what she was really asking. What price would he demand? What payment would he expect? Because in Kate's experience, nobody helped for free. Nobody stood up for a widow and her sick daughter without wanting something in return. "Nothing," Eli said. "I want nothing from you." "Then why help?" Eli's hand tightened around his coffee cup. "Because 8 years ago, someone needed help and I was 30 seconds too late," he said quietly. "I've been running from that ever since. Your daughter stood in a creek today and asked me to stop running. So I did." Kate's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. Not trust. Not yet, but maybe the possibility of trust. The first crack in a wall built high and thick from 2 years of fighting alone. "Monday's in 3 days, she said. "I know. Wade's got the law. He's got money. He's got the whole town scared into silence. I know that too. 3 days of fence mending won't stop him." Eli leaned forward slightly. "Then we better find something that will." Kate held his gaze for a long moment. Then she stood, started clearing plates. Emma helped, moving around the small kitchen with practiced ease. They worked together in silence, mother and daughter, a team that had learned to function with 2 people doing the work of 3. Eli carried his plate to the wash basin. Kate took it without looking at him. "There's a lantern in the barn," she said. "Blankets in the tack room. It ain't much. It's enough. Breakfast is at dawn. We start early." "Yes, ma'am." Her lips twitched, almost a smile. "I told you not to call me ma'am." "Yes, Kate." This time she did smile. Just barely. Just for a second. Then it was gone, swallowed by the exhaustion that lived in every line of her face. Eli walked to the barn as the sun set behind the mountains. The sky turned purple and gold, beautiful in a way that hurt to notice. He hadn't paid attention to sunsets in 8 years. Hadn't paid attention to much of anything except the bottom of a whiskey bottle and the road leading out of whatever town he was leaving. The barn was exactly what Kate had promised. Basic. A stall for his horse, hay bales stacked in the corner, a tack room with saddles that had seen better days. He found the blankets where she'd said they'd be, laid them out on clean hay in an empty stall. His horse was already settled, munching hay, content. Eli sat on the hay bale and pulled off his boots. His body ached. Good ache, the kind that came from honest work. He hadn't felt that in a long time. Through the barn wall he could see the cabin. One window glowed with lamplight. Kate's silhouette moved behind the curtain. He watched as she sat at the table. Alone now that Emma was in bed, watched as she put her head in her hands. She sat like that for a long time. Eli looked away, gave her that privacy. But the image stayed with him. A woman sitting alone at a table in lamplight, carrying weight no one should have to carry alone. He lay back on the hay, stared at the barn roof. Gaps in the boards showed stars beyond. He should patch that roof tomorrow, add it to the list. Fence, barn door, roof, pasture. 3 days of work, 3 days to make a difference. His thoughts drifted back to Nathan, about that bank in Silver Creek, about arriving 30 seconds too late to change anything. Nathan had been so young. 22 years old, eager to prove himself, wanted to be a lawman like his big brother. Eli got him the deputy position, trained him, taught him how to shoot, how to read people, how to stay safe. Taught him everything except how to survive when your brother arrives 30 seconds too late. The lamp in the cabin window went out. Eli closed his eyes, tried to sleep, couldn't. Around midnight he gave up, sat up, decided to check the barn, make sure he hadn't missed anything in the dark. Kate had been kind enough to give him shelter. Least he could do was make sure the place was secure. He lit the lantern, walked through the barn. It was in better shape than the exterior suggested. Someone had maintained it as best they could, kept it swept, kept the feed stored properly, kept the tack clean even if it was old. Thomas Brennan had been a good man. Eli could tell from the barn. A man's barn said a lot about him. In the tack room, Eli found a shelf with supplies, nails, wire, a few tools, and tucked behind a box of horseshoes, something that didn't belong, a leather journal. Eli pulled it out, ran his hand over the cover. Good leather, well made, the kind of thing a man kept for important records. He shouldn't read it, wasn't his business, but something made him open the cover anyway. The first page had a name written in careful script, Thomas Brennan. Below it a date, January 1883. Eli flipped through pages, daily entries, weather observations, notes about the horses, crop planning, the mundane details of running a small ranch. Then the entries changed. March 15, 1883. Water from well tastes strange, metallic. Kate noticed too. April 2nd, 1883. Hands shaking this morning. Couldn't hold coffee cup steady. Blamed it on cold, but it's not cold. April 30th, 1883. Wade Mining started new excavation upstream. Saw them blasting yesterday. Creek ran gray for an hour. May 10th, 1883. Stomach pains getting worse. Doc Pierce says it's nothing. Gave me laudanum. Doesn't help. June 1st, 1883. Can't work full days anymore. Hands shake too much. Kate's worried. Emma asked why Papa can't carve anymore. Told her I'm just tired. The entries went on, month after month. Thomas Brennan documenting his own slow death, connecting dots nobody else would connect, building a case in his journal that he'd never lived to present. Eli's throat tightened. He kept reading. November 4th, 1883. Talked to Old Man Patterson, his cattle dying. Same symptoms I got. Talked to Henderson. His boy's hands shake. All of us downstream from the mine. December 12th, 1883. Wade came to the house today. Offered to buy the ranch. Good price. I said no. He didn't like that. Said I was being stubborn. Said a sick man can't run a ranch. Told him to get off my land. January 3rd, 1884. Doc Pierce came by. Examined me. Saw something in his eyes. Fear. He knows. He knows, and he won't say it. Eli flipped faster now. The handwriting got shakier, harder to read. Thomas's hands failing him even as he wrote. March 20th, 1884. Collected water samples. 3 jars. Well water. Creek upstream. Creek downstream. Sealed them with wax. Kate doesn't know. If something happens to me, she'll need proof. Eli stopped. Read that entry again. Water samples. Thomas had collected evidence, had hidden it somewhere, and Kate didn't know. The next entry was April 12, 1884. April 12, 1884. Hid the samples where Emma knows, our secret fishing spot. Only place Wade can't find them. Told Emma about the willow tree, the big rock. She'll remember. She's smart like her mother. Eli's hands were shaking now. He flipped to the last entry. April 30th, 1884. Can't write much anymore. Hands too bad. Tell Kate I'm sorry. Tell Emma I love her. Tell them both I tried to fight. The water samples are the truth. The truth matters, even if I'm gone. The entry ended there. Eli checked the front of the journal. Thomas died in May 1884. He'd written that last entry days before his death, spent his final strength documenting the truth, making sure someone, someday, would know. Eli sat in the tack room holding a dead man's journal, evidence of murder written in a failing hand, proof that Kate had been right all along, proof that Thomas Brennan had been poisoned by Wade's mine, had known it, had documented it, and had hidden samples before he died, samples that Emma knew how to find. Eli's mind raced. Monday was 3 days away. Wade was coming with legal papers to take Emma, but if they could find those samples, if they could test them, if they could prove Thomas was right. He stood, held the journal against his chest, looked toward the cabin where Kate slept, exhausted, probably not sleeping well, probably lying awake worrying about Monday. He had to tell her, had to show her this journal, had to give her the one thing she'd been searching for all along, hope. Eli extinguished the lantern, crossed the yard to the cabin, knocked quietly on the door. A minute passed, then another. He knocked again, softer. The door opened. Kate stood there in a nightdress, hair down around her shoulders, eyes heavy with sleep that hadn't come easy. "What's wrong?" Her voice was sharp, alert. "Is Emma okay?" "Emma's fine. But I found something. In the barn. Something you need to see." Kate grabbed a shawl, wrapped it around her shoulders, stepped onto the porch. Closed the door so they wouldn't wake Emma. "What is it?" Eli held out the journal. Thomas's journal, daily entries, everything he noticed about the water, about getting sick, about the mine. Kate took the journal like it might break, opened it with trembling hands, saw her husband's handwriting, and made a sound that wasn't quite a sob. "I never saw this," she whispered. "I looked everywhere after he died. I thought maybe he'd written something down. But I couldn't find anything." "He hid it in the barn, in the tack room." Eli paused. "Kate, there's an entry from April. He collected water samples. 3 of them. Well water, creek upstream, creek downstream." Kate's head snapped up. "What?" "He sealed them, hid them, says Emma knows where." Kate's eyes filled with tears. She clutched the journal to her chest. "Water samples, physical proof. If we can find them, if we can get them tested, we'd have evidence," Eli finished. "Real evidence. Not just your word against Wade's. Scientific proof that the mine contaminated your water." Kate was crying now, silent tears running down her face. She didn't wipe them away, just stood there on the porch in the moonlight, holding her dead husband's journal, crying for the first time in probably months. "Thomas," she whispered. "You brilliant, stubborn man." Eli gave her a moment, looked away, gave her the privacy to cry for her husband, for the man who'd loved her enough to spend his dying days collecting proof she'd need after he was gone. Finally, Kate wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders, looked at Eli with something he hadn't seen before. Fire. "Emma's secret fishing spot," she said. "Willow Creek. Big Rock. I know where that is. Thomas took her there every Saturday." "We go tomorrow," Eli said. "Early, before anyone in town is awake." Kate nodded, then she looked at the journal, at her husband's handwriting. "Why did you bring this to me tonight?" she asked. "You could have waited until morning." "Because you've been sitting in that cabin for 2 years thinking you're crazy," Eli said quietly, "thinking nobody believes you, thinking maybe you're wrong. You needed to know tonight that you're not crazy. You're not wrong. Thomas knew it, wrote it down, left you proof." Kate's chin trembled. She pressed her lips together hard, held herself together through sheer will. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me. Thank Thomas." Kate looked at the journal again, ran her fingers over her husband's name on the cover. "I miss him," she said, so quiet Eli almost didn't hear it. "Every day I miss him, and every day I have to be strong enough for both of us, for Emma, for this fight. And I'm so tired of being strong alone." Eli didn't know what to say to that, didn't have words for that kind of exhaustion, that kind of loneliness. So he just stood there with her in the moonlight, 2 people who'd lost too much standing on a porch in the middle of nowhere, holding onto the hope that maybe, They weren't as alone as they thought. "Get some sleep," Eli said finally. "Tomorrow we find those samples. Then we figure out how to use them." Kate nodded, turned to go inside, stopped at the door. "Eli?" "Yeah?" "3 days might not be enough. Then I'll stay longer." She looked at him, really looked at him, trying to understand why a drifter would make that promise, why a stranger would choose to fight someone else's battle. "Why?" she asked. The same question from dinner, but different now, quieter, more real. Eli touched the scar on his wrist. "Because 8 years ago I didn't stay, and someone died because I left too soon. I won't make that mistake again." Kate nodded slowly, went inside, closed the door. Eli stood on the porch alone, looked up at the stars. They were bright out here, away from cities, away from everything, just stars and silence and the weight of promises made to people who needed them. Monday was 3 days away. Judge Wade was coming. But tomorrow they'd find Thomas Brennan's water samples. And maybe, just maybe, the truth would be enough. Eli walked back to the barn, lay down on the hay. His hand found the scar on his wrist. He traced it in the dark. Too late for Nathan, but maybe, this time, 3 days would be exactly enough for Emma and Kate. Maybe. Dawn came cold and clear. Eli was already awake when the first light touched the mountains. He'd slept maybe 3 hours, kept waking to the sound of nothing. The silence out here was different than the silence in towns, deeper, more honest. He walked to the creek, splashed water on his face. The cold shocked his system awake. His reflection stared back at him from the surface. Same face he'd seen for 8 years. Same scar on his wrist. Same eyes that had watched his brother die. But something felt different this morning. Purpose, that's what it was. For the first time in 8 years, Eli had a purpose that mattered. Kate was already in the kitchen when he entered the cabin. She'd made coffee. Strong and black. The kind that could wake the dead. She handed him a cup without a word. Her eyes had dark circles, but they were clearer than yesterday. Focused. "Emma's still sleeping," Kate said quietly. "I thought we should talk first." "Agreed." They sat at the table. The journal lay between them. Kate had been reading it. Eli could tell from the way the pages were marked, the way it sat open to a specific entry. "He knew he was dying," Kate said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly around her coffee cup. "Read these entries from April. He knew, and instead of resting, instead of spending time with us, he spent his last days collecting evidence. He was fighting for you, for Emma. He was fighting for everyone downstream." Kate looked up. "That's what Thomas was like, always thinking about the bigger picture, always worried about the next family, the next generation." Her voice cracked. "I just wanted him to think about us, to rest, to let me take care of him for once." Eli didn't say anything. Sometimes silence was better than platitudes. Kate wiped her eyes quickly, angry at the tears. "We need to find those samples before Wade realizes we have this journal, before he figures out Thomas documented everything." "Does Wade know about the journal?" "I don't think so. Thomas hid it well. But Wade's not stupid. He'll be wondering what Thomas might have left behind." Emma appeared in the doorway, hair tangled from sleep, still in her nightdress, dusty at her heels as always. "Mama? Why are you up so early?" Kate's face transformed. The grief disappeared, replaced by a smile that looked almost real. "Good morning, baby. Come here." Emma climbed into her mother's lap. Too big for it, really, at 9 years old, but Kate held her anyway. Held her like she was afraid someone might take her away at any moment. "Emma," Kate said gently, "Mr. Eli found something. Papa's journal. Do you remember Papa keeping a journal?" Emma nodded against her mother's shoulder. "He wrote in it every night. At the table. After I went to bed. He wrote about a place. Your secret fishing spot where you and Papa used to go." Emma pulled back. Looked at her mother with those big brown eyes. "By Willow Creek, the big rock where Papa carved our names." "That's right." Kate brushed hair from Emma's face. Papa hid something there, something important. We need to find it. What did he hide? Water samples, in glass jars. Do you think you could show us where? Emma's face lit up. I know exactly where. Papa showed me. He said it was our secret, just ours. Eli set down his coffee. How far is it? 20 minutes through the woods, Kate said. There's a trail. Thomas and Emma used to go early mornings before anyone was awake. Then we go now, before the town wakes up, before anyone sees. They dressed quickly. Kate put on riding clothes, boots, a wide-brimmed hat. She moved different this morning, purpose in every motion. Yesterday she'd been exhausted, defeated. Today she was a woman with a mission. Emma bounced with energy. Can Dusty come? Dusty comes, Eli said. Good to have a dog with us. They left through the back of the property, following a narrow trail that wound through cottonwood trees and scrub brush. The morning was cool, birds singing, the kind of morning that felt peaceful if you didn't know a war was coming. Emma led the way, Dusty running ahead, circling back, running ahead again. The dog knew this trail, had walked it dozens of times with Emma and Thomas. Kate walked beside Eli, silent. Her hand kept touching her pocket where she'd put the journal, making sure it was still there, making sure she hadn't dreamed it. Thomas brought her here every Saturday morning, Kate said quietly. 5 a.m. They'd fish for trout, come back by 7 with breakfast. Emma would tell me stories about what Papa taught her, how to read the water, how to be patient. Her voice softened. She loved those mornings with him. She still loves them. I can hear it when she talks about him. Kate glanced at Eli. You're good with her, with children. Raised my brother from the time he was 10. Guess I learned something. What happened to him? Your brother. Eli's jaw tightened. The scar on his wrist throbbed. He died because I wasn't there when he needed me. That's all that matters. Kate didn't push, just walked beside him in silence, giving him the same privacy he'd given her last night. The trail opened into a clearing. Willow Creek ran through it, clear and fast. A massive granite boulder sat where the creek bent sharp. An old willow tree grew beside it, roots thick and gnarled, reaching into the water. Emma ran to the tree. Dusty barked, tail wagging. Here, Emma pointed at the trunk. See? Papa carved our names. Eli walked closer. There in the bark, carved carefully, T.B. and E.B., Thomas Brennan and Emma Brennan. The letters were old but deep, made with love, made to last. Papa said this was our spot forever, Emma said. Nobody else's, just ours. Kate knelt beside the boulder. Her hands moved over the granite, feeling for something. Thomas wrote that he hid them where Emma would know. Where is it, baby? Where would Papa hide something special? Emma thought, her small face serious. Then she smiled. The secret spot, between the roots. She scrambled to the base of the willow tree. The roots created a natural hollow where they met the boulder. Emma started digging with her hands. Dusty helped, paws flying, dirt spraying. Careful, Emma, Kate warned. Don't break anything. Emma's fingers hit something solid. I found it, Mama, I found it. She pulled out a wooden box, small, the size of a bread loaf, wrapped in oilcloth. The cloth was intact, still waterproof after a year. Kate took the box with trembling hands, set it on the boulder, unwrapped the oilcloth slowly, carefully. Inside, 3 glass jars, each one sealed with dark wax, each one labeled in Thomas's careful handwriting. Well water, Brennan Ranch, April 10, 1884. Creek water upstream of Wade Mine, April 10, 1884. Creek water downstream of Wade Mine, April 10, 1884. Kate pressed the jars to her chest, made a sound that was half laugh, half sob, something between grief and triumph that had no name. He did it, she whispered. That stubborn, beautiful man. He knew he was dying, and he still collected proof. Emma hugged her mother's waist. Papa left us what we needed, Mama. He knew. He always knew. Eli's throat was tight. He looked away, giving them the moment. His hand found the scar on his palm. Nathan hadn't gotten this chance, hadn't left behind proof or justice. Just blood on a bank floor and a brother who arrived moments too late. But Thomas Brennan had fought back. Even dying, poisoned, hands shaking, he'd fought back. He'd collected evidence, hidden it, made sure his family would have what they needed after he was gone. That took a kind of courage Eli had never seen. "We need to move," Eli said quietly. "Get these somewhere safe." Kate nodded, wiped her face, stood. Not the ranch. Wade could come with a search warrant, tear the place apart. Who do you trust? Truly trust? Kate thought. Henry Webb. He runs the blacksmith shop in town. He was Thomas's best friend, the only person who still talks to me. Can he keep his mouth shut? He kept Thomas's secrets for 20 years. He'll keep this. Eli looked at the 3 jars. We split them. One with Webb, one with me, one buried back here. That way, if Wade finds one, 2 more exist. Kate stared at him. You think like a lawman. I was one, long time ago. Her eyes widened. You were? Deputy Marshal, 3 years, different territory. He took 1 jar, tucked it inside his shirt. Right now it means I know how evidence works, and I know how men like Wade think. Why did you stop being a marshal? Eli's hand stilled on the jar. Because someone I was supposed to protect died, and I couldn't fix it. Kate was quiet. Then, you're trying to fix it now. He didn't answer. Couldn't. Emma tugged his sleeve. We should go. Sometimes Deputy Carter rides this trail. They buried the 3rd jar back in the hollow, covered it carefully, scattered leaves, made it look untouched. Emma stood back, satisfied. Papa would be proud. We're keeping his secret. Yes, he would, baby, Kate said. She took Emma's hand. Let's go home. They moved fast back through the woods. Eli carried Kate's jar wrapped in cloth. Emma ran ahead with Dusty, checking clearings, waving them forward when it was safe. They broke through the trees behind the barn. Kate stopped cold. A horse was tied to the front porch rail, big chestnut mare with silver-trimmed saddle. That's Deputy Carter's horse, Emma whispered. Kate shoved the jar at Eli. Hide it, now. Eli moved to the barn, found an empty stall in the back, wrapped the jar in a horse blanket, buried it under loose hay, made sure it looked natural. When he came back around, Kate was already on the porch. Deputy Carter was leaning against the railing, thumbs hooked in his belt. Carter was mid-30s, thick-necked, wearing a star that looked too big for the man carrying it. He smiled when he saw Kate, but the smile was cold, empty. The smile of a man who enjoyed having power over people who couldn't fight back. Mrs. Brennan, Carter said, voice smooth as oil. Just checking in. Judge Wade wanted me to make sure you and the girl are doing well. We're fine, Deputy. Kate's voice was ice. I see you've still got that drifter hanging around. Carter's eyes moved to Eli, who'd come to stand by the barn. Folks in town are starting to talk. Let them talk. Now, Mrs. Brennan, that ain't wise. Carter pushed off the railing, took a step closer. A woman in your position, with your situation being what it is, appearances matter. Judge Wade's a fair man. He'd hate to see anything that makes Monday harder than it needs to be. Kate's spine straightened. Monday, when he plans to steal my daughter, when he plans to ensure the girl's welfare. Carter's smile widened. There's a difference. Get off my porch, Deputy. Carter held up his hands. Mock surrender. Just being neighborly, ma'am. Oh, and Mrs. Brennan? He tipped his hat with exaggerated courtesy. The judge mentioned he'd be willing to settle this without court proceedings. If you'd reconsider his offer on the land, save everybody a lot of trouble. The land's not for sale. Everything's for sale, ma'am. Just depends on the price. Carter mounted his horse. His eyes swept the property. The new fence posts Eli had set yesterday. The barn door that was now hanging straight. His gaze lingered on Eli. Your hired man does good work, Carter said. Shame he won't be around long enough to finish. He rode off. Dust rising behind him. Kate didn't move until the sound of hooves faded completely. Then her shoulders dropped. For one raw second, her mask cracked, showing the woman underneath who'd been fighting alone far too long. Emma pressed against her mother's side. "He scared me, Mama." Kate knelt down, eye level with her daughter. "That's why he came, baby, to scare us, to remind us that Judge Wade is watching, that we're not safe. But we have Papa's samples now. Doesn't that mean we win?" Kate looked at Eli, then back at Emma. "It means we have a chance, that's all, just a chance." Emma's face fell. "That's not enough. Sometimes a chance is all you get," Eli said. He walked to the porch, sat on the step. "And you fight like hell to make it count." Emma sat beside him. Dusty laid across both their feet. "Mr. Eli, are you scared?" "Yes." "Papa used to say people only threaten when they're scared." "Deputy Carter came here because Judge Wade is nervous. That means we're doing something right." Eli looked at this 9-year-old girl. Hands that trembled, body that was slowly being poisoned, but a mind that was sharp as a knife, seeing patterns adults missed, understanding the game being played. "Your papa was a smart man," Eli said. "He was the smartest," Emma agreed. She leaned against Eli's arm. "Do you think he can see us from heaven? Do you think he knows we found his samples?" Eli's throat closed. He thought about Nathan, about whether the dead could see the living, about whether his brother knew Eli had spent 8 years running from the guilt. "Yeah," Eli said quietly. "I think he knows." Kate watched them from the porch, her daughter and this stranger who'd appeared 3 days ago. Emma had taken to Eli instantly, trusted him completely. Children had instincts about people. Kate had learned to trust those instincts, but trusting a drifter was dangerous. Trusting anyone was dangerous when you'd been betrayed by a whole town. Still, Eli had found the journal, had helped find the samples, had promised to stay. Maybe, just maybe, he was different. "We go to Henry Webb tonight," Kate said, "after Emma's asleep. We can't be seen going to town together in daylight." Eli nodded. "What about Emma? Who stays with her?" Kate's face tightened. "I hate leaving her, but we can't bring her. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. We ride in after dark, give Webb the sample, ride back, 1 hour. And if Carter's watching the roads, then we don't take the roads." They waited until the moon rose. Emma had fallen asleep an hour earlier, exhausted from the morning's adventure. Kate tucked her in, kissed her forehead, lingered the way mothers do when they're afraid each night might be the last they get. Dusty stayed with Emma. The dog wouldn't leave her side. Kate was grateful for that. Eli saddled Kate's mare and his own horse. They rode without lanterns, used moonlight and Kate's knowledge of every trail, every shortcut, every shadow. The ride took 30 minutes. They came into town from the north, avoided Main Street, stuck to back alleys and empty lots. Henry Webb lived behind his smithy at the edge of town. The forge was cold this time of night, but smoke still rose from the chimney of the small house. Light showed in one window. Kate dismounted, tied her horse, walked to the door, and knocked. 3 quick raps. A minute passed, then the door opened. Henry Webb stood there holding a shotgun in one hand and a candle in the other. He was 70 years old. Arms like iron from 50 years at the forge, white hair, white beard, eyes that had seen enough liars to know an honest person on sight. "Kate Brennan," his voice was rough, surprised. "Lord Almighty, girl, what are you doing here at this hour? Hector, I need your help." Webb looked past Kate to Eli standing by the horses. "Who's he?" "His name's Eli. He's helping us. Can we come in, please? Before someone sees." Webb stepped back. "Quick, before Mrs. Patterson looks out her window and starts gossiping." Inside, the house was simple, clean. A table, 2 chairs, a bed in the corner. The home of a man who lived alone and didn't need much. Kate set the jar on Webb's workbench, unwrapped it. The glass caught candlelight. "What am I looking at?" Webb asked. Kate told him everything: Thomas's journal, the water samples, the evidence of mercury poisoning, Monday's hearing, Wade's plan to take Emma. Webb picked up the jar, held it to the candlelight. His hands trembled, but not from age, from something else, something that looked like guilt. "Thomas," he murmured, "you clever son of a gun. Will you keep it safe?" Kate asked. Webb set the jar down, sank into his chair. He rubbed his face with calloused hands. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Something I should have told you 2 years ago." Kate went still. "What?" Webb took a long breath. "After Thomas died, I went up to the mine, middle of the night, just like you're here now. I wanted to see for myself, wanted to know if what Thomas said was true." He paused. His voice dropped. "I saw the runoff pipe, saw where it emptied into the creek. The water coming out was gray, Kate. Gray and stinking like metal and death." Kate's face went pale. "You saw it. You saw the contamination. And you never told me?" "Wade threatened me the next day," Webb's voice cracked. "Said he knew I'd been up there. Said if I opened my mouth, he'd foreclose on my shop. Run me out of the territory. I'm 70 years old. This shop is all I got." His hands covered his face. "I was a coward," Webb whispered. "Thomas was already dead. I told myself nothing would bring him back, but that ain't why I stayed quiet. I stayed quiet because I was scared." Kate didn't speak. Her face worked through emotions: anger, betrayal, understanding. The struggle of a woman who'd been fighting alone, finding out her husband's best friend had seen the truth and said nothing. Eli stepped forward. "You're telling us now." Webb looked up. "Because this man showed up," he pointed at Eli. "A stranger with nothing to lose and no reason to lie. That's what it took, Kate. That's what it took to shake an old coward out of his silence." "You ain't a coward," Eli said. "You're scared. There's a difference. But Monday's coming. Kate needs people willing to say out loud what everybody's been whispering." Webb straightened in his chair. "What do you need from me?" "Monday at the hearing," Kate said, voice steady despite the tears on her face. "Stand up. Tell them what you saw at the mine. Tell them about Thomas. Wade will destroy me." "Wade's destroying you anyway." Eli leaned forward. "He's destroying this whole town. Just doing it slow enough nobody notices. But if you stand, others might stand with you." Webb stared at the jar. The water inside looked clear, innocent. But they all knew what it carried, what it had done to Thomas Brennan, what it was doing to Emma. "I'll be there Monday," Webb said. "God forgive me for waiting this long." Kate took the old man's hand, squeezed it. "Thomas always said you were the best man he knew." Thomas was wrong about that. Webb looked at Eli. But maybe he wasn't wrong about the water, and maybe it's time this town found out. They rode home in silence. The moon had moved across the sky. It was past midnight now. The world felt different at this hour, quieter, more honest, like truth had more room to exist when most people were asleep. Halfway home, Kate spoke. "You said you lost someone, your brother." Eli rode beside her. Didn't answer right away. The moon threw their shadows long across the trail. "Yeah," he said finally. "Will you tell me about it?" Eli rode for a long time without speaking. The horses moved in matched rhythm. Night air was cool, smelled of sage and dry grass. "Tommy was 22, Eli said. "I was 30. I'd been deputy marshal in Silver Creek, Colorado for 6 years. Tommy followed me out there, wanted to be a lawman too, looked up to his big brother." He paused. "Bank robbery. 4 men. I was across town when it started. Someone ran to get me. I rode hard. Got there 30 seconds after they shot him." Eli's voice didn't change, stayed flat, controlled. The voice of a man who'd told this story to himself 1,000 times. He was on the floor, badge still on his chest, blood everywhere. Looked up at me and said, "Eli, I'm sorry." Like he'd let me down. Like he'd failed me. While he was dying, he apologized to me. Kate didn't offer comfort. Didn't say she was sorry, she just rode beside him, close enough that he could feel her presence. Steady. Certain. I turned in my badge that night, Eli continued. Told myself I was done protecting people, done being responsible for lives I couldn't save. Spent 8 years drifting, never staying, never making promises. And then Emma grabbed your horse in a creek. Yeah. Eli almost smiled. Reckon God's got a sense of humor. They reached the ranch. Emma was still sleeping. Dusty lifted his head when they entered, thumped his tail once, settled back down. Kate checked on her daughter, pulled the blanket up, kissed her forehead, stood in the doorway just watching Emma breathe. Eli waited outside, gave them privacy, looked up at the stars. They were so bright out here, away from everything, just stars and silence and the weight of what was coming. Kate came out onto the porch, closed the door softly behind her. 2 days until Monday, she said. 2 days. Wade's going to come at me with everything, the law, the town, propriety, every weapon he can find. And you'll have proof he poisoned your husband, a witness who saw the mine's runoff, and a former deputy marshal standing beside you. Kate looked at him in the moonlight. That's more than I had yesterday. Yesterday, you had nothing. Today you have a chance. She held his gaze. Something passed between them. Not trust, not yet, but the possibility of trust. The beginning of something that might become trust if they survived Monday. Don't make promises you can't keep, Kate said quietly. I'm not promising we'll win. I'm promising I'll be there. That's all I can give. Kate nodded, turned to go inside, stopped at the door. Eli? Yeah? Thank you for finding the journal, for helping find the samples, for not running when you had every reason to. I'm still here, ain't I? You are. She paused. But staying and fighting are different things. Monday, when Wade comes with his lawyers and his threats and his power, will you still be here? Eli touched the scar on his wrist. I was 30 seconds too late for my brother. I won't be too late for your daughter. Kate's eyes filled. She blinked fast. Good night, Eli. She went inside. Eli stood on the porch alone. The night was deep now, that hour before dawn when the darkness is thickest, when doubts are loudest. He thought about Tommy, about arriving too late, about the bank floor, about arriving 30 seconds too late to change anything. He thought about Emma, about her hands shaking, about the poison in her blood, about Monday coming whether they were ready or not. He thought about Kate, about a woman who'd been fighting alone for 2 years, who'd been called hysterical for telling the truth, who was about to walk into a courtroom and face the man who'd killed her husband and now wanted to take her daughter. Eli went to the barn, lay on the hay, stared at the ceiling. His mind wouldn't quiet. Around 3 a.m., he gave up on sleep, sat up, decided to check on the horses, make sure everything was secure. The barn was peaceful. His horse and Kate's mare standing quiet in their stalls, content, safe. Eli walked through, checked the doors, the windows, the roof. Everything was as secure as he could make it. He was about to go back to his haybed when he heard it. Hoofbeats, multiple horses, coming fast. Eli moved to the barn door, peered out. The moon was setting now, first hint of dawn touching the eastern sky. But not dawn yet, still dark enough to hide. 6 riders came up the road to the ranch. Eli's blood went cold. He recognized Deputy Carter's horse, recognized Carter himself leading the group. The other 5 men Eli didn't know. But they all had the look, hired guns, men who did Wade's dirty work for money. They stopped 50 yards from the cabin. Carter dismounted, walked forward, stopped at the fence line. Mrs. Brennan? Carter's voice cut through the pre-dawn silence. I know you're awake. Come out here. A light appeared in the cabin window. Kate's silhouette. Eli moved fast, crossed the yard, went in through the back door, found Kate standing at the front window, rifle in her hands now, face pale. 6 men, she whispered. Carter and 5 others. I saw. Emma appeared, hair messy from sleep, eyes wide with fear. Mama, what's happening? Kate handed the rifle to Eli, knelt beside Emma. Baby, I need you to go to the root cellar, under the kitchen floor. Take Dusty, don't come out until I say. Mama, no. Emma, now. Emma's chin trembled, but she obeyed, lifted the trapdoor in the kitchen floor, climbed down the ladder. Dusty followed. Kate closed the door, covered it with a rug. Then she took the rifle back from Eli. Her hands were steady now. Fear transformed into something harder, something dangerous. Mrs. Brennan, Carter shouted again. Last chance. Come out peaceful. Kate walked to the door, threw it open, stood on the porch with the rifle across her chest. What do you want, Carter? Judge Wade sent us. Said you might need help. Said you got something that don't belong to you. Some papers, maybe some glass jars. Said we should collect them. For safekeeping. Kate's face went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, Mrs. Brennan, let's not play games. Carter smiled. We can do this easy or hard, your choice. Eli stepped out onto the porch beside Kate. Carter's smile faded. Drifter, didn't expect to see you up this early. Didn't expect you to come threatening women and children before dawn. But here we are. Carter's hand moved to his gun, didn't draw, just rested there. A threat. This ain't your fight, stranger. Walk away. Live to see tomorrow. Can't do that. Why not? Eli's voice was quiet, calm. Because I made a promise, and I'm tired of breaking promises. The 5 men behind Carter spread out, hands on guns. The message was clear. 6 against 2. And Kate wasn't a gunfighter, wasn't trained. Just a woman who'd learned to shoot to protect her ranch. The odds were bad. The situation was worse, and Monday was still 2 days away. But Eli had been in bad situations before, had faced worse odds. The difference was, this time he wasn't alone. This time he had something worth fighting for. He'd failed Tommy. He wouldn't fail Emma and Kate. Not this time. Never again. The pre-dawn air was cold. Eli could see his breath, could see Kate's breath beside him, could see the breath of 6 men on horses 50 yards away, hands on guns, waiting for the order to do what they came to do. Carter took a step forward. I'll ask one more time, nice and polite. Hand over whatever Thomas Brennan left behind, papers, samples, anything that might cause Judge Wade unnecessary trouble. And if I don't, Kate's voice didn't shake, then we search the place, tear it apart if we have to. Judge Wade gave us authority, legal authority. Legal authority to break into a woman's home before dawn, to threaten a widow and her child? Kate's grip tightened on the rifle. That's not law, that's thuggery. Carter smiled. Cold, empty. Call it what you want, ma'am. End result's the same. You got something Wade wants. We're taking it. Eli stepped forward, put himself between Kate and the riders. His hand rested on his gun belt. Not drawing, just ready. You'll have to go through me first, Carter laughed. You're one man, Drifter. We're 6. You really want to die for people you met 3 days ago? I've died for less. The statement hung in the air, truth in it, weight. Carter's smile faded. He was used to people backing down, used to fear working in his favor. But Eli's face showed no fear, just calculation. The look of a man who'd made peace with dying a long time ago. Who are you? Carter asked. Really? Name's Elijah Cross. Used to be deputy marshal out of Silver Creek, Colorado. I know the law, Carter. Know the difference between legal authority and armed robbery. What you're doing right now, this is the second one. Carter's jaw tightened. Marshal badge don't mean nothing out here. Maybe not. But it means I know how to shoot. Means I know how to make every bullet count. Means if you ride up to this porch, at least 3 of you won't ride back. One of the men behind Carter shifted nervously. Eli noticed which ones were hired guns and which ones were just following orders. The nervous ones would break first. Mrs. Brennan, Carter's voice hardened. Last chance. Give us what Wade wants, or we come get it. Kate raised the rifle, aimed it at Carter's chest. Her hands were steady now. All the fear burned away, replaced by something hotter, something that had been building for 2 years. You want to search my house? Kate's voice cut like glass. You want to terrorize my daughter? You want to finish what your boss started when he poisoned my husband?" She chambered around. "Come try." Carter's face went red. "You're pointing a gun at a deputy. You're threatening a mother. I'd say we're even." Eli's hand moved to his Colt, slow, deliberate, drew it, held it down by his side. 6 rounds, 6 men. The math was brutal, but not impossible. "Here's how this goes," Eli said quietly. "You turn those horses around. You ride back to Wade. Tell him Monday's coming, and we'll settle this in court like civilized people. Or you can try to come through me and Mrs. Brennan, but I promise you this. Some of you will die, maybe all of you, maybe me too. But you'll die, and we'll still be standing." Silence. Heavy. Thick. The kind of silence before violence. Then one of the hired guns spoke. Young. Maybe 25. Scared. "Carter, this ain't what we signed up for. We're supposed to intimidate, not start a shooting war." "Shut up," Carter snapped. "No." The young man edged his horse back. "I ain't dying for Wade's land grab. I got a wife, got a kid coming. This is crazy. You ride away now. You don't get paid." "I'd rather be alive and broke than dead and rich." The young man turned his horse, rode off, disappeared into the pre-dawn darkness. 5 left. Carter's hand moved to his gun. "Anyone else want to turn coward?" Another man cleared his throat. Older, 50 maybe. "Kid's got a point, Carter. Marshall here looks like he knows what he's doing, and that woman ain't backing down. This could get ugly fast." "It's already ugly," Carter said. "Question is whether you're with me or against me." The older man thought about it, looked at Eli, looked at Kate, made his decision. "I'm out." He turned his horse. "Tell Wade I'm done. He wants a war. He can fight it himself." 4 left. Carter was sweating now despite the cold. His plan was falling apart. Wade had sent him with 6 men to intimidate a widow. Instead, he was facing a former marshal and watching his crew desert. "Fine," Carter snarled. 4's enough, but his voice shook, just slightly, just enough for Eli to hear. "Stand down, Carter," Eli said. "This doesn't end well for you. I got my orders." "Your orders are going to get you killed." Carter drew his gun. Fast. Faster than Eli expected. But Eli was already moving. Years of training. Muscle memory. He raised his Colt, fired. The shot echoed across the valley. Birds exploded from trees. Horses spooked. Carter's gun flew from his hand. Blood on his fingers. Eli had shot the gun clean out of his grip without hitting flesh. A warning shot. A demonstration of skill. Carter stared at his bleeding hand, then at Eli, then at the gun lying 10 feet away. "Next one goes in your chest," Eli said. Voice dead calm. "Your move." The 3 remaining men looked at each other, looked at Carter, looked at Eli, holding a smoking gun like it was an extension of his arm. "We're leaving," one of them said. Didn't wait for permission, just turned and rode. The other 2 followed. Carter stood alone now, on foot, gun gone, hand bleeding. Pride shattered. "Tell Wade," Kate said from the porch. "Tell him we're not scared anymore. Tell him Monday's coming and we're ready. Tell him Thomas left us everything we need to bury him." Carter's face twisted with rage. "You have no idea what you're doing. No idea who you're fighting. Wade owns this territory, owns the law, owns everything. He doesn't own us," Kate said. "Not anymore." Carter walked to his horse, mounted with his good hand, looked back at them one last time. "Monday," he said, "Wade will crush you in court. And after that, there won't be anywhere in this territory you can hide." He rode off. The sun broke over the mountains. First light, golden and clean. The violence of the moment fading into morning stillness. Eli lowered his gun. His hand was shaking now, adrenaline wearing off. He'd been in shootouts before. Had faced down criminals, outlaws, men who wanted him dead. But this felt different. This felt personal. Kate lowered the rifle. Her hands were shaking too. She sank onto the porch step. The strength that had held her upright for the last 10 minutes suddenly gone. "I almost shot him," she whispered. "I had my finger on the trigger. I almost killed a man." Eli sat beside her. But you didn't. That's what matters. I wanted to. That's what scares me. For a moment I wanted to pull that trigger and watch him fall. That's called being human, called being scared and angry and fighting for your child. Eli holstered his gun. You did good, Kate. You stood. You didn't back down. Kate looked at him, eyes wet. This is insane. We're going to war with the most powerful man in the territory over water samples and a dead man's journal. We're going to lose everything. Maybe, or maybe we win. Eli's voice was gentle. Either way, you're not alone anymore. The trap door in the kitchen lifted. Emma's face appeared, pale, dusty beside her. Mama, is it over? Kate wiped her eyes fast, stood, went to her daughter, pulled her up from the cellar, held her tight. It's over, baby, for now. I heard gunfire. Mr. Eli scared them away. They're gone. Emma looked at Eli. Her brown eyes were too old for 9 years, too knowing. Will they come back? Eli thought about lying, thought about giving comfort. But Emma deserved truth. Maybe, he said. But if they do, we'll be ready. Emma nodded, like she'd expected that answer. Like she'd learned at 9 years old that the world didn't give easy answers or safe promises. Kate made coffee. Nobody spoke about what had just happened. They moved through morning routines like the standoff hadn't occurred, like 6 men hadn't just tried to terrorize them into submission. But the rifle stayed loaded on the table, and Eli kept his gun belt on, and Kate kept glancing out the window like she expected Carter to come riding back. After breakfast, Emma went outside with Dusty. She needed air, needed to feel normal even when nothing was normal. Kate and Eli sat at the table. Today's Sunday, Kate said. Monday's tomorrow. One more day until Wade comes for Emma. We've got the samples. We've got Webb ready to testify. We've got Thomas's journal. It's not enough. Kate's voice was hollow. You saw Carter's face. Wade knows we have something. He's going to come at us harder now. He'll bring lawyers, bring pressure, bring the full weight of his power. Then we bring ours. Kate laughed, bitter. What power? I'm a widow with a failing ranch. You're a drifter. Webb's a 70-year-old blacksmith. What power do we have? The truth. The truth didn't save Thomas. No, but Thomas made sure the truth would save Emma. That's what those samples are. That's what his journal is. He died making sure you'd have weapons to fight with. Kate's eyes filled again. She was crying more now than she had in 2 years. Like something inside her had finally cracked. Like the wall she'd built to survive was coming down. I'm so tired, she whispered. 2 years of fighting alone. 2 years of people calling me crazy. 2 years of watching my daughter get sicker and sicker and not being able to stop it. I'm so tired, Eli. Eli reached across the table, took her hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. Then let me carry some of it, he said, and just for a while, just until Monday. You don't have to be strong alone anymore. Kate looked at their hands, hers small and scarred. His larger, the scar on his wrist visible. 2 broken people holding on to each other. Why are you really doing this, she asked. The truth, not the story about your brother. Why are you risking your life for us? Eli was quiet for a long time. Outside, Emma was playing with Dusty, throwing a stick, the dog bringing it back. The simple joy of a child who didn't know her world was falling apart. Because 3 days ago I was a ghost, Eli said finally. Dead inside, just going through motions. Had been for 8 years. Then your daughter stood in a creek and said, please, and something woke up. Something I thought died with Tommy. He paused. Purpose. That's what woke up. For 8 years I had no purpose except running. No reason to care about anything. But Emma gave me a reason. You gave me a reason. And maybe if I can help save you too, it'll make up for not saving Tommy. That's not how it works, Kate said softly. Saving us won't bring your brother back. I know. But it might let me live with myself again. Might let me sleep without seeing his face every time I close my eyes. Kate squeezed his hand. You're a good man, Elijah Cross. I'm a broken man trying to fix something before it's too late. Then we're both broken. Maybe that's enough. They sat like that for a while, holding hands across a table. Two people who'd lost too much, who'd fought too long alone, who'd finally found someone willing to stand beside them. Then Kate pulled her hand back, stood, wiped her eyes. "We need more help," she said. "Webb's good, but it's not enough. We need other witnesses, other families who've been hurt by Wade's mine." Who else is downstream? Kate thought. The Henderson family. Their boy had tremors for over a year. Martha Webb, Henry's daughter, her girl's been sickly. Old Patterson lost cattle. The Fletcher family's well went bad last spring. Will any of them testify? I don't know, they're scared, like everyone else. Then we make them less scared. We show them they're not alone, that other people are standing up. Kate nodded. We go talk to them. Today, before Monday, before Wade can threaten them into silence. I'll go, Eli said. You stay with Emma, keep her safe. No. Kate's voice was firm. We go together. Emma comes with us. I'm not leaving her alone. Not after this morning. Eli understood. After Carter's visit, Kate would never let Emma out of her sight. Couldn't risk it. Then we all go, he said. We face this together. They rode into town mid-morning. Emma sat in front of Kate on the mare. Eli rode beside them. Dusty trotted alongside, tongue out, happy despite everything. The town was quiet. Sunday, quiet. Church bells had rung an hour ago. Most folks were home now, eating Sunday dinner, resting. Kate led them to a small house on the east side of town, white paint peeling, garden overgrown. A child's toy wagon sat abandoned in the yard. The Hendersons, Kate said. Their boy Tommy is 10 now, had tremors so bad last year he couldn't go to school. They dismounted. Kate knocked. A woman answered, 40 years old, worn thin by worry. Her eyes widened when she saw Kate. Mrs. Brennan, I didn't expect... She glanced nervously up the street. You shouldn't be here, Mrs. Henderson, I need to talk to you. About Tommy, about the water. Mrs. Henderson's face closed. I can't. My husband told me not to get involved. Please leave. Your boy is sick because of Wade's mine. You know that. I know you know. Knowing and proving are different things. Kate pulled out Thomas's journal, showed Mrs. Henderson the pages, the documented observations, the careful records of illness spreading downstream. Thomas proved it, Kate said. Before he died, he collected water samples. We have them. We can test them. We can show everyone what Wade's been doing. Mrs. Henderson's hands shook as she read. Thomas always was thorough. Will you help us? Monday at the courthouse. Will you stand up and say what happened to Tommy? Mrs. Henderson looked back into her house, at a boy sitting at the table, hands trembling slightly as he tried to eat. Her son, her responsibility. If I testify, Wade will ruin us. My husband works for the mine. We'll lose everything. If you don't testify, Tommy gets sicker. The water keeps flowing. More children get poisoned. Kate's voice was gentle but firm. I'm not asking you to sacrifice your family. I'm asking you to save them. Mrs. Henderson closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face. I'll talk to my husband, she whispered. I can't promise, but I'll try. They visited 3 more families that afternoon. Same story each time. Fear, worry. The desperate calculation of people trapped between conscience and survival. By evening, they had promises from 2 families. Maybe promises, conditional promises, the kind that might vanish when Monday came and Wade showed his power. They were riding back to the ranch when they saw smoke, black smoke, rising from the direction of the Brennan property. Kate went pale. No, 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 no. They spurred the horses, rode hard. Emma held tight to her mother, Dusty running full speed beside them. They crested the hill and saw it. The barn was burning, not the cabin, just the barn. Flames climbing into the evening sky, smoke thick and black. Kate screamed, rode straight for it. Eli grabbed her reins, stopped her. Kate, no, the horses are out. Look. The 2 horses were in the pasture, safe. Someone had let them out before lighting the fire. This wasn't about killing animals. This was a message. Kate slid off her horse, stood in the yard staring at the barn, at 2 days of Eli's work burning, at Thomas's tools inside, at Emma's, Papa's things. They did this, she said, voice hollow. Wade's men came back and did this. Emma was crying. Papa's workshop is in there, all his things. Eli dismounted, looked at the burn pattern, professional, kerosene, lit in multiple places at once. This was arson by someone who knew what they were doing. The barn was gone. No saving it. They could only watch it burn. Kate sank to her knees in the dirt. Emma beside her. Mother and daughter watching flames consume what was left of Thomas Brennan's legacy. Eli stood behind them, hand on Kate's shoulder, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. This was Wade's answer. This was what happened when you fought back, when you refused to be scared into silence. Your barn burned, your livelihood destroyed, your husband's memory reduced to ash. The fire burned for 2 hours. By the time it died to embers, the barn was just blackened timbers and twisted metal. The roof had caved in, the walls had collapsed. Everything inside was gone. Kate hadn't moved, just knelt in the dirt, watching. Emma had cried herself out and now sat silent, leaning against her mother. The samples, Kate said suddenly. Were they in the barn? No, Eli said. One's buried at Willow Creek, one's with Webb, one's... He stopped. He'd hidden Kate's sample in the barn, in the back stall, under the hay. His face must have shown something because Kate grabbed his arm. It was in there, wasn't it? The sample was in the barn. Eli didn't answer. Didn't need to. Kate made a sound. Not quite a scream, not quite a laugh. Something between despair and rage. They burned it. Wade burned the evidence. We still have 2 more, Eli said. The one at Willow Creek. The one with Webb. Unless Wade knows about those 2, unless this was just the start. Emma looked up, face streaked with tears and ash. We should go to Willow Creek, make sure Papa's sample is still there. Kate nodded, stood, helped Emma up. They were covered in dirt and ash, but their eyes were hard now. The tears were gone. Something else had taken their place. Fury. They rode to Willow Creek in darkness, used moonlight again. The trail was familiar now. They'd walked it enough times in 3 days to know every turn. The fishing spot looked peaceful, untouched. The big rock. The willow tree. The place where Thomas and Emma had spent Saturday mornings. Eli dug where they'd buried the 3rd sample. His fingers hit wood. The box was still there. Still wrapped in oilcloth. Still sealed. He pulled it out, unwrapped it. The jar was intact, water clear, label visible, Thomas's handwriting unmistakable. Kate took it, held it like a lifeline. 1 left. We have 1 sample left. 2, Eli corrected. Webb has 1, too. If Wade hasn't gotten to him already. They rode to town, straight to Webb's smithy. Pounded on the door. Webb answered with his shotgun, saw them, lowered it. Lord Almighty, what happened to you? Wade burned my barn, Kate said. Is your sample safe? Webb's face darkened. He went inside, came back with the jar. Safe. Intact. It's hidden, Webb said, behind a false panel in my workshop. Wade's men won't find it even if they tear the place apart. Kate sagged with relief. 2 samples. We still have 2 samples. Webb looked at the barn ash on their clothes, at Emma's tear-stained face, at the exhaustion in Kate's eyes. This is war, Webb said quietly. You understand that, right? Wade's declared war. He's not playing by rules anymore. Then neither are we, Kate said, voice like iron. Monday, courthouse, we bring everything, the journal, the samples, every witness we can find, and we make Wade answer for what he's done. Webb nodded. I'll be there, and I know others who will too. Who? Doc Pierce came to see me this afternoon, said he can't stay silent anymore, said he's willing to testify about Thomas's real cause of death. Webb hesitated. There's something else. Doc Pierce told me he did something 3 days ago, right after you came here that night. Kate leaned forward. What did he do? He wrote a letter to the U.S. Marshal's office in Cheyenne, sent copies of Thomas's real medical records, his blood work, everything. He said he couldn't live with the guilt anymore, so even if he lost his nerve about testifying, at least the truth would reach someone who could act on it. Eli's chest tightened. Did he say if the marshal responded? He doesn't know. Mailed it 3 days ago. Federal mail takes time. Webb met their eyes. But if that letter reached the right person, if a U.S. Marshal shows up Monday, then Wade's trapped, Kate finished. Webb nodded slowly. Then Wade's trapped. Webb paused. He also said he sent a letter, 3 days ago, to the U.S. Marshal's office in Cheyenne. Kate's eyes widened. He did what? Sent copies of everything. Thomas's real medical records, evidence of mercury poisoning, names of other families affected. Asked for a federal investigation. Eli felt something shift in his chest. Did the marshal respond? Don't know yet, but if he did, if a federal marshal shows up Monday, Wade can't just dismiss this, can't make it go away with threats and money. Kate pressed her hand to her mouth. Doc Pierce did that? After 2 years of silence, he sent evidence to the federal government? Said he couldn't live with himself anymore. Said seeing you fight alone shamed him into action. Kate started crying again, but different tears this time. Not despair. Relief mixed with disbelief. We might actually have a chance, she whispered. We might actually win this. Don't count on it yet, Webb warned. Wade's got resources we don't. Got lawyers and judges and powerful friends. But yeah, we got a chance. They rode home under stars. The burned barn was a black silhouette against the night sky, a reminder of what they'd lost, what they were risking. But they also had 2 water samples. Had Webb's testimony, had Doc Pierce's courage, had the possibility of a federal marshal, and they had each other. Kate put Emma to bed in the cabin. Emma was exhausted, fell asleep almost instantly with Dusty curled beside her. Kate came outside, found Eli sitting on the porch step, looking at the ruined barn. I'm sorry, Eli said. The sample was my responsibility. I should have hidden it better. You didn't know they'd burn the barn. I should have anticipated it. Kate sat beside him, close, their shoulders touching. Stop, she said. Stop carrying every failure. Stop blaming yourself for things you couldn't control. I could have controlled this. No, you couldn't. Kate's voice was firm. Wade did this, not you. Wade burned my barn. Wade poisoned my husband. Wade's trying to take my daughter. This is all on him. Eli looked at her, at this woman who'd lost so much, who'd been fighting alone for 2 years, who should be broken but somehow wasn't. You're stronger than I am, he said. No, I'm just more desperate. Desperation looks like strength when you're fighting for your child. They sat in silence. The night was cold, stars bright. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled. Tomorrow's Sunday, Kate said. Monday we go to court. This all ends one way or another. Yeah. Are you scared? Terrified. Kate smiled, just slightly. Good. Me too. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Eli went still, didn't move, didn't want to break whatever this moment was. Thank you, Kate whispered, for staying, for fighting, for being here when I had no one. I'm here because I want to be. Why? Eli thought about all the answers he could give, about Tommy, about redemption, about the 8 years of running. But in the end, the truth was simpler than that. Because when I'm here, I'm not a ghost anymore, he said. I'm alive. For the first time in 8 years, I'm actually alive. Kate lifted her head, looked at him. In the moonlight, her eyes were soft, vulnerable. The walls she'd built were down, just for this moment, just for him. Eli? Yeah? If we survive Monday, if we somehow win, what happens then? What do you want to happen? Kate was quiet. Then, I want you to stay. Not for 3 days, not through harvest. I want you to stay. Eli's heart hammered. Kate, I know it's crazy. I know we barely know each other, but somewhere in the last 3 days, you became part of this, part of us. And the thought of you leaving after Monday, the thought of fighting alone again, her voice broke. I can't do it, Eli. I can't go back to being alone. Eli took her hand, held it tight. I'm not going anywhere, he said. Monday, we fight Wade. We win or lose together. And after that, after the dust settles, I'm still here. I'm staying. Kate's eyes filled. Promise? I promise. She kissed him, quick, soft, then pulled back, looking scared and brave at the same time. Eli touched her face, kissed her back, slower this time, meaning it. When they pulled apart, Kate was smiling through tears. Okay, she whispered. Okay. They sat on the porch until dawn, not talking, just being. Two broken people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their lives, who'd decided that together was better than alone. Tomorrow was Sunday, the day before the fight. Monday was Judgment Day. And whatever happened, they'd face it together. Monday morning broke clear and cold. No clouds, just blue sky and mountains and the weight of what was coming. Eli was already awake, had been for hours. He'd cleaned his gun, checked every round, put on his cleanest shirt. This was war dressed up as law. He needed to look the part. Kate dressed Emma in her Sunday best. White dress, clean shoes, hair brushed and tied with ribbon. Emma looked like she was going to church, not to a courthouse where a judge would decide whether she got to stay with her mother. They ate breakfast in silence. Nobody had appetite, but Kate made them eat anyway. You need strength, she said. Whatever happens today, you need strength. The ride to town felt longer than it was. Every minute stretched. Every hoofbeat counted. The courthouse sat in the center of town. Two-story building, stone and wood, flag hanging limp in the still air. The street was packed. Seemed like half the town had come. Some to support Kate, most to watch the spectacle. To see what happened when a widow challenged the most powerful man in the territory. Eli helped Kate down from the horse, Emma between them. Dusty stayed with the horses. The dog whined as they walked away. As they walked toward the courthouse steps, Eli spotted Henry Webb standing near the entrance. The old blacksmith wore his Sunday coat, hat in hand. Beside him stood Doc Pierce, medical bag clutched against his chest. Both men's faces were pale but determined. Webb nodded once at Kate. She nodded back. They'd come, both witnesses, ready to stand. Inside, the courtroom was hot, despite the morning cold. Too many bodies, too much tension, every bench filled, people standing along the walls, the air thick with sweat and anticipation. Judge Cornelius Wade sat behind the bench, 60 years old, silver hair, black robes, the face of authority, the face of power. But Eli saw something in Wade's eyes, something that looked like worry. Good, let him worry. Deputy Carter stood by the wall, bandage on his hand from where Eli had shot the gun from his grip. Carter's eyes promised vengeance. Later, after the law had finished its work, Wade's lawyer stood near the bench, young, expensive suit, stack of papers, ready for battle. Kate sat at the defendant's table. Eli sat behind her, Emma between them, small hand gripping her mother's. Wade banged his gavel. This hearing concerns the welfare of minor child Emma Brennan. The court has received petition regarding fitness of sole guardian, Mrs. Kate Brennan. Mrs. Brennan, do you have legal representation? Kate stood. I represent myself, Your Honor. Murmurs through the courtroom. Wade's lips twitched. A woman representing herself against his lawyer? This would be over quickly. Very well, Wade said. Mr. Harrison, you may present your case. The lawyer stood, cleared his throat, began reading from his papers. Your Honor, the petitioner presents evidence that Mrs. Brennan's homestead has fallen into severe disrepair. The ranch is failing. The child has been observed barefoot, inadequately clothed, unsupervised. Furthermore, Mrs. Brennan has been housing an unknown male transient, creating questionable moral environment unsuitable for a young girl. More murmurs, people craning to see Eli. "We request," the lawyer continued, "that the court appoint temporary guardian for the child, pending full investigation into Mrs. Brennan's fitness as parent." Wade nodded gravely. "Serious concerns indeed. Mrs. Brennan, how do you respond?" Kate stood. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Your Honor, my ranch is not failing. It's been systematically sabotaged. 2 nights ago, someone set fire to my barn. Saturday morning, 6 men, led by Deputy Carter, came to my home before dawn, threatening me and my daughter." The courtroom erupted. Wade banged his gavel. "Mrs. Brennan, those are serious allegations without evidence." "I have evidence." Kate pulled out Thomas's journal. "My husband's journal. Daily documentation of water contamination from Wade Mining Company. Evidence that he was poisoned by mercury in our well water. Evidence that his death certificate was falsified." She set the journal on the bench. Wade's face went pale. "Furthermore," Kate continued, voice growing stronger, "I have water samples, collected by my husband before his death. Sealed, labeled, ready for independent testing." Wade leaned forward. "Mrs. Brennan, this hearing is about custody, not mining operations. The two are connected, Your Honor. You filed this custody petition 3 days after I refused your latest offer to purchase my land. Land that sits above the richest vein in Wade Mining's claim. This isn't about my daughter's welfare. This is about clearing property." The courtroom was silent. Dead silent, every eye on Wade. Wade's face flushed red. "That is a damnable accusation." Eli stood. "Then prove her wrong, Your Honor. Release your financial records. Show this town you have no stake in Wade Mining Company. Show you're an impartial judge acting in a child's interest, not a businessman eliminating an obstacle." Wade's eyes locked on Eli. Pure hatred. "And who are you to speak in this court?" "Elijah Cross, former Deputy Marshal, Silver Creek, Colorado. I've observed Mrs. Brennan's home for the past week. Clean house. Well-fed child. Mother who works 18 hours a day to provide for her daughter despite systematic harassment from this court." Eli set Thomas's journal on the table in front of Wade. "I've also examined Thomas Brennan's personal records. Detailed daily observations of water contamination, dates, measurements, descriptions of illness in livestock, and residents downstream from Wade Mining. These notes document environmental poisoning that directly caused Thomas Brennan's death." Wade didn't touch the journal, just stared at it like it might bite. "Mr. Cross, you are not qualified to assess water quality or medical cause of death." "No, sir, but a federal assayer is qualified, and a licensed physician is qualified." A voice from the back of the courtroom. "I can speak to that, Your Honor." Every head turned. Doc Samuel Pierce stood in the doorway, 70 years old, white coat, medical bag, hands trembling but eyes clear. He walked down the aisle with the slow dignity of a man who'd finally decided to stop running from his conscience. "My name is Dr. Samuel Pierce. I've practiced medicine in this town for 42 years. I signed Thomas Brennan's death certificate 2 years ago." Wade cut in fast. "Dr. Pierce, this is not open testimony." "Then make it open." Pierce looked at Wade with steady gaze. "Because I lied on that certificate. You told me to write fever of unknown origin or you'd have my medical license revoked. But Thomas Brennan didn't die of fever." The courtroom held its breath. "Thomas Brennan died of chronic mercury poisoning," Pierce said. Each word clear, deliberate. "I knew it then. I've known it for 2 years, and I've carried that guilt every day since." He opened his medical bag, pulled out a folder. "These are Thomas's real medical records, blood tests, symptom documentation, everything showing mercury toxicity consistent with contaminated water exposure. I kept duplicates because I knew someday the truth would matter." He set the folder on Wade's bench beside the journal. Wade stared at the evidence piling up in front of him, his composure cracking. "Dr. Pierce, you are clearly unwell, seeking attention through dramatic testimony." "Then explain these." Henry Webb stood from the gallery, 70 years old, blacksmith's arms, voice like iron. I saw the runoff pipe from Wade Mining 2 weeks after Thomas died. Went up there myself at night. The water coming out was gray, stank of metal. I saw it with my own eyes. Wade's lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, this is turning into a circus. We request order. But Wade wasn't listening. He was staring at the door because U.S. Marshal James Coulter had just walked in. 50 years old, federal badge, trail dust on his coat, eyes that had seen too much corruption to be impressed by local judges. The marshal walked to the front of the courtroom, every step deliberate. Judge Wade, Coulter said, I'm U.S. Marshal Coulter, Territorial Office. I received correspondence 3 days ago regarding water contamination and falsified death records in your jurisdiction. I've been investigating Wade Mining Company for 72 hours. Wade's face went from red to gray. Marshal, this is a local matter. It was local. Now it's federal. Environmental poisoning affecting multiple families across county lines. That's my jurisdiction. Coulter looked at the courtroom. I've tested water samples from 3 sources. Well water from Brennan Ranch shows mercury levels at 400 parts per million. Creek water downstream from Wade Mining shows similar contamination. Both samples exceed federal safety standards by factor of 40. He turned back to Wade. I've also examined medical records for 6 families downstream from the mine, all showing symptoms consistent with heavy metal poisoning, all drinking from wells fed by contaminated creek. The courtroom erupted, people shouting, some angry, some vindicated. Judge Wade's gavel was useless against the noise. Marshal Coulter raised his hand. Silence fell. Judge Wade, Coulter said, I'm placing Wade Mining Company under federal investigation. All operations suspended pending environmental review. I'm also recommending the territorial governor review your conduct on this bench. Wade stood, shaking with rage. You have no authority to suspend my family's business. Your family's business poisoned citizens of the United States. That gives me all the authority I need. Wade looked around the courtroom, at faces that had feared him yesterday, at people who'd stayed silent because he controlled their livelihoods, at a town that was finally seeing him for what he was. He looked at Kate, at this widow he'd tried to break, this woman who'd fought him alone for 2 years, this mother who'd refused to be intimidated even when he burned her barn and threatened her child. Kate stared back, unflinching. Wade's shoulders sagged. All the fight went out of him. The custody petition is dismissed, he said quietly, without prejudice. Kate's knees buckled. Eli caught her, held her up. Emma grabbed her mother's waist. Mama, did we win? Kate knelt down, pulled her daughter into her arms, held her so tight Emma squeaked. Yeah, baby, Kate whispered. We won. We finally won. The courtroom erupted again, this time in celebration. People rushing forward, shaking Kate's hand, hugging her, apologizing for 2 years of silence. Henry Webb was crying. Doc Pierce was crying. Even Marshal Coulter smiled. Eli stood back. Watched Kate and Emma surrounded by support they hadn't had yesterday. Watched a community remembering what it meant to stand together. Wade left through his chambers, didn't look at anyone. Deputy Carter followed. Both men broken. Marshal Coulter approached Eli. You Cross, the former deputy marshal? Yes, sir. Good work. Bringing me into this. Though I gotta ask, how'd you know about the samples before Dr. Pierce's letter arrived? Eli paused. I didn't send any letter. I bluffed in the courtroom, said I'd contacted the marshal's office, was hoping it'd scare Wade into making mistakes. Coulter laughed. Well, it worked. And Pierce's actual letter worked even better. Sometimes justice needs a push from both directions. He shook Eli's hand. You ever want to wear a badge again? Come find me. Territory needs men like you. I'm done with badges, but thank you. Kate found him in the crowd, Emma on her hip, both of them smiling through tears. We did it, Kate said. We actually did it. You did it. You fought for 2 years. I just showed up at the end. You showed up when it mattered. Emma reached for Eli. He took her. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "Thank you for helping Mama," she whispered in his ear. "Thank you for not leaving." Eli's throat closed. He held this 9-year-old girl who'd grabbed his horse in a creek 4 days ago and changed everything. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "I promised, remember?" "I remember." They walked out of the courthouse into morning sun. The street was packed with people celebrating Kate's victory, celebrating Wade's defeat, celebrating truth winning over power. But Eli only saw 2 people that mattered. Kate and Emma, his family now, the people he'd stay for, the purpose he'd been searching for 8 years. They rode home together. Past the burned barn, past the broken fence, past all the damage Wade had done. But none of that mattered now. They'd won, against all odds, against all the power Wade commanded. They'd won because they'd stood together, and tomorrow they'd start rebuilding, together. Spring 1886. Brennan Ranch looked different now. New barn, bigger than the old one, built by men from town who'd volunteered their labor. New fence, straight and strong. Garden green and growing. 2 horses in the pasture, coats shining, healthy. Emma was better. Doc Pierce tested her blood every month. The mercury levels were dropping steadily. "Another year of clean water and good food," he'd said last week, "and she'll be close to normal. The tremors might never fully disappear, but she'll live a full life." Her hands shook less now. She could write again. Small letters, careful, but her own name looked right on paper. She could hold a fork steady, could button her own dress, could play with Dusty without her fingers cramping. She was healing, slowly but surely. She was in the yard now with Dusty, teaching the dog tricks. "Sit, good boy, now roll over." Dusty wagged his tail, rolled. Emma laughed, the sound of pure joy. Kate stood at the fence watching her daughter, Eli beside her, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. "She's getting stronger," Kate said. "Every day a little stronger. Like her mama." Kate smiled. "We're both stronger because of you. You were strong before I showed up. I just reminded you." They stood in comfortable silence. 6 months of building this life together. 6 months of healing. 6 months of learning what it meant to be family. Kate turned to look at him. "Do you ever regret it? Staying? Giving up the drifter life?" "Every single day," Eli said deadpan. Kate hit his arm. "Liar." Eli grinned, pulled her closer. "Best decision I ever made. Only decision that mattered. Even though you're stuck with a widow and her sick daughter and a half-ruined ranch, especially because of that." Emma ran over. "Mama, Mr. Eli, Dusty learned a new trick. Want to see?" "We'd love to see, baby," Emma demonstrated. Dusty performed. Emma beamed with pride. "That's amazing," Eli said. "Your papa would be proud." Emma looked up at him, those big brown eyes serious. "Mr. Eli, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Would it be okay if I called you Papa? I know you're not my real Papa. My real Papa's in heaven, but you're here, and you take care of Mama and me, and you teach me things," and she trailed off, uncertain. Eli's throat closed. He looked at Kate. She was crying, nodding. He knelt down, eye level with Emma. "Emma, that would be the greatest honor of my life." Emma threw her arms around his neck. "Thank you, Papa." Eli held her, this child who'd saved him. This girl who'd stood in a creek and asked for help and given him purpose when he had none. Kate knelt beside them, put her arms around both of them. The 3 of them together with Dusty wagging his tail beside them. A family. Broken pieces that had found each other and decided broken together was better than whole alone. That night, after Emma was asleep, Eli and Kate sat on the porch. Stars bright overhead, cool spring air, the smell of growing things. "I got a letter today," Kate said. "From the territorial governor. Wade Mining Company is permanently shut down. Marshal Coulter's investigation found evidence of bribery, intimidation, and falsified court documents." She paused. "Wade and Carter fled to California before federal warrants could be served. The governor issued arrest orders, but they're outside territorial jurisdiction now. The mines being sold. All proceeds go to affected families for medical treatment and damages. So they got away, Eli said quietly. They lost everything that mattered. Their power, their reputation, this town. Kate's voice hardened. And they can never come back. That's justice enough. That's good. It's more than good. It's justice, real justice, for Thomas, for Emma, for everyone Wade hurt. She took Eli's hand. None of this happens without you. You know that, right? None of this happens without Thomas. He's the one who collected evidence, who documented everything, who made sure you'd have what you needed. Thomas started it. You finished it. Eli looked at the scar on his wrist, traced it with his thumb, did it out of habit now, not pain. I spent 8 years running from the fact that I was 30 seconds too late to save Tommy, he said. Spent 8 years thinking I'd failed the one person who mattered most. He looked at Kate. But I wasn't 30 seconds too late here. I was right on time. Exactly when you and Emma needed me. Kate kissed him, soft, sweet, full of promise. You were perfect timing, she whispered. You saved us, and we saved you. That's how it's supposed to work. They sat together until the stars moved across the sky, until the moon set, until dawn began painting the horizon. A new day, a new life, a new purpose. Elijah Cross had spent 8 years as a ghost. Now he was alive. Now he was home. Now he was exactly where he belonged. The end.